On this episode of the Motorsport Recently Show, 226.394 miles an hour is too slow.
It's crazy to, my F1 loving brain to be talking about someone starting from P12 and be like, yeah, they have a shot.
I have just one thing to say about it. This is Indy.
Hello everybody and welcome along to a very special episode of the Motorsport Recently Show because this is our 2025 Indianapolis 500 preview. My name is Jack McKenzie, the owner of this here YouTube channel, and joining me on the mic as usual is our wonderful Chris Whitfield, our in-house motorsport guru, and our sim racing commentator, Caitlin Penny Commentary. Guys, it's the month of May and we're essentially on the eve of the jewel in the crown of the IndyCar calendar. How are we doing? And you guys are excited as I am? That made sense.
Well, Jack, I may well be. Let's go. It's the month of May, guys. And unfortunately, I'm going to be away when the Monaco Grand Prix and the Indy 500 are taking place. So I won't be able to see either of them live. And I'm really gutted about that because I wanted to see both of them live. But I'm going to an event and it's at a very bad time for a motorsport fan. So what have you? Hi, Chris. How are you?
First of all, month of May, inject it right into my veins. This is, I think, one of the most anticipated months of May in quite a while for IndyCar. And let me tell you, there's no shortage of things that have happened.
It's already delivering, isn't it?
It's been massive so far. Let's dive straight into it with Indy 500 qualifying because
all I want to say first is, inject Delta Force into my veins.
Oh my God.
If you're not listening to Delta Force sometime before the 500, then you've completely lost the plot. It's that and Tom Blade's Europe are two of the best Indy 500 related songs.
Well, we can't forget about Back Home Again in Indiana, can we? That's surely the Indy 500 song of all time.
I mean, in fairness, and also the gentleman who took over from Mr. Jim Neighbors has done a very solid job at it. On that note, I just want to quote the great Tom Carnegie here and say, "And he is on it."
And there we go. I think we should dive straight into this preview. And let's start with Indy 500 qualifying because there was a lot to talk about with this one. Of course, we're treated to the absolute show that is IndyCar qualifying as usual. And we have quite an interesting pole sitter. So it was Robert Shwartzman from Prema who becomes the first rookie on pole for the Indianapolis 500 since 1983 with a blistering 232.790 mile an hour pole time. And who was the last rookie, I should ask, to qualify on pole, Chris Whitfield?
Ooh, I know this. It was Teo Fabi, the Italian who was driving for Jerry Forsyth back in 1983.
You know, you're absolutely right about Teo Fabi being on pole position, and I had literally no idea that happened. No, I think I did know that happened, because something quite traumatic happened before that race even started, right?
In 1983?
I might be thinking of the wrong year.
It was 82 that I think you're thinking of, where Kevin Cogan spun the rear tires and cannoned into AJ Foyt and Mario Andretti at the start, which also took out one of the Whittington brothers.
That's one of the most famous Indy 500 clips, isn't it? The start line crash.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. Yeah, I remember. I've seen this clip. I know exactly the one you're talking about.
I still love the interview that took place with AJ Foyt. Chris Economaki asks AJ Foyt, AJ, what happened out there? And Foyt says, well, I don't know. He ran square in my goddamn left front. Who are we talking about? Coogan?
You've quoted that one before, yeah. I thought
AJ Foyt blames it on Kevin Cogan.
I thought Teo Fabi was the one who qualified on pole and then spun off before the race started. But was that
Roberto Guerrero? Actually,
Guerrero. Okay.
In 1992, in the Buick.
Wow, I'm a whole 10 years off. Congratulations, me.
Also,
Yeah.
also it should be noted that Teo Fabi finished 26th in 1983.
Oh.
Yeah.
Going out with, I believe he was out of the race with a. Let me see here.
Wikipedia says fuel gasket.
Yep, he had a sulking fuel gasket
What would we do without Wikipedia?
on
It's
lap
so
47.
important. But yeah, no. So not only is it Robert Shwartzman's first is his first pole in IndyCar. I don't think he's scored another one. Not that I can remember off the top of my head.
Well, it's only his sixth start.
Yeah, I know, but what a
total.
result! And also, it's Prema's first pole, if I remember correctly, as well, and certainly the first pole at the Indianapolis 500. I can't remember off the top of my head if they've scored one in the regular series, but
No. Their best start, I think, was I think it was like 15. Someone in the comments will ask me that, but I think it was 15th in 15th either at St. Pete or at Thermal.
Wow.
In 2025, and let's see. And also, it should be noted that the Indy 500 for 1984, that you mentioned Prema getting their first, but the first time a first-year team qualified on the pole for the Indy 500 was actually 1984. Which Tom Sneva won the pole for Mayer Motor Racing in a March Cosworth.
Caitlin,
16th.
You'll be obviously, as we mentioned, Prema, the first year in IndyCar, on the pole for the Indianapolis 500, and Caitlin, you will be, I'm sure, very much familiar with Prema's exploits in feeder series racing. What a result for this team to come into IndyCar in their first year and already pick up a result like this.
Yeah, absolutely. Prema is a name that I'm very, very familiar with from the junior categories of Formula One, so Formula 2 and Formula 3. For a long time, they said that if you were going to win the championship, you had to be racing for either Prema or ART. Dams have picked up a few, and there have been a few shock results from here and there. But to be honest, Prema and ART are the dominant forces of GP2/Formula 2 racing, and pretty much always have been. Prema, of course, have turned their hands to other things as well. We've seen them do well in sports cars and that kind of thing. But to be honest, IndyCar is a whole other kettle of fish. You know, everything else that Prema has done has not involved long distance oval racing, or any oval racing for that matter. You know, they've never raced in Formula One or anything, so they've never had any experience with really, really high-powered single-seaters. IndyCar's, of course, even more powerful than Formula 2 and a heck of a lot quicker. So it's a new car. They had to learn all over again how to set this thing up. Their best result so far, as you said, Chris, was 18th this season. That's at Long Beach. That's incredible. To go from 18th in your third IndyCar race to pole position in your 7th or whatever, that's absolutely unbelievable, and I could not believe what I was seeing. And it wasn't even smooth sailing for Prema. You know, they turned up to Indy, and they were late out of the garage in the first couple of days. They were running, 30th, 25th, 22nd throughout the practice sessions, and then suddenly, not only does Robert Shwartzman lock himself into the top 12, he goes and puts the thing on pole. I cannot believe what I've seen, and this is going to go down in history as far as the Indy 500 is concerned.
As Caitlin said, at one point, I think actually on Tuesday, he was 33rd fastest. People were basically saying, well, I think we know who might be in the Final Four shootout, for bump day, but then, when they increased the boost on Friday, he was up there. Then he winds up 12th, which locks him into the top 12. He actually, I think I know how he won the pole. His first lap, was a 2:33.1. Nobody, and I mean nobody, could match that. In like the rest of the Fast Six session. No one could match it. Not even Alex Palou could match that.
So, Chris, what you're telling me is you figured out that he took pole position by being the fastest.
And he was also the most consistent overall. He only dropped off at like 0.3 of a mile an hour.
Wow.
That's astonishing.
Who would have thought we should invite Will Buxton on here. He would have come to the same conclusion. The fastest person in qualifying starts
Then
first.
again, Will Buxton knows Robert Shwartzman and was like, he has brains.
No,
He actually said that during the qualifying show, and like I was in another Discord call, and I was basically saying that Will Buxton apparently is a zombie because he was saying that he has brains. But
why did he say that actually?
I mean, he is a smart kid. Like, Caitlin's seen him run in Formula 2 and Formula 3. Very impressive. Like, I've watched him race in the World Endurance Championship the last couple of years with AF Corsa, and let me tell you, he's probably the reason why they've won at COTA. Like, that kid is mega quick.
Absolutely. I should also mention though, while the pole time, well, obviously qualifying on pole is very impressive. And by the way, I have to say, Will Buxton and the crew doing an excellent job in the commentary box this year as well. The pole sitter has actually only won out of the 108 runnings of the Indianapolis 500. The pole sitter's only won 21 times, which it's still a relatively big number, but generally speaking, like compared to 108 races, it's actually not that many. We should probably jump to the rear of the field though, because the final row shootout was interesting as always.
It sure was. Like, to see, like, it was very eventful. Marco Andretti was the second to go out of the four. The first to go out was Marcus Armstrong. He did a run of 229.091 miles an hour. And Marco did a 229.741, and both got safe, leaving the 33rd position open to both of the Dale Coyne cars of Rinus VeeKay and Jacob Abel, which led to an interesting soundbite from Dale Coyne saying, "You ever play chess against yourself?" At 5:52, so 8 minutes left in the session before the gun went off, VeeKay withdrew his run, and we were thinking, like, wait, he's done what? Like, he was in. Like, he had 227.7. He went slower, 226.9 on that lap. But Abel, who was desperate at that point, like they basically threw everything in the kitchen sink at him.
Yeah, wow.
But he couldn't do it. He couldn't get in with a 26.3, 394, and was unfortunately bumped out of the field. That was only part of the story. It's obviously, I think Dale Coyne needs to really work on his speedway program, like, because this is not the first time he's had a car bump out another one. But I don't understand that how Marco Andretti somehow lost speed within the entire month. Like, that was perplexing to me. But like Marcus Armstrong, I could see, because he had a monster crash on Saturday before qualifying, like just pounded the wall in the short chute in turns 1 and 2, like a scary hit. And
I think race cars are ultimately temperamental beasts. I think one setup that works on one day will absolutely not be competitive on another day. It should theoretically work, but it doesn't. And I think another person that suffered from this was Colton Herta. So he crashed out in his qualifying session. Car was essentially destroyed. Had to bring a new one out, and obviously this new car wouldn't have been as well set up as the one that he ultimately crashed, and he pretty much made it in by the skin of his teeth as well. So he was quite lucky to be there. I do also want to say, it's just testament to how insane Indy 500 qualifying is, where 226.394 miles an hour is too slow. That's how fast it's just 226 miles an hour slowpoke. You're not making the right. It's crazy. Anywhere else, if you did that speed, that's unbelievable. But for the Indianapolis 500, it's not fast enough. That's how insanely fast these cars are. And every single person that tries for this race is an absolute hero.
I have just one thing to say about it. This is Indy. This is Indy, and you know how I know it sounds cliche, but you know how they say the track chooses the winner and who goes home? Beginning to see that a little bit. There's a few team owners, Dale Coyne, that are wanting guaranteed entries for the Indy 500, which of course goes against every single tradition. Plus, they already tried it once to catastrophic results in 96 and 97. But this is why Bump Day is so important to IndyCar and to the Speedway. This is the tradition that, quite frankly, I think should stay.
No, I have to agree. I think it is the most important qualifying session at any race within the calendar year. It's the one that you have to, but specifically the last chance qualifying. That's the most important qualifying session, and I think it's another reason why that event is so special.
And the best is, nobody is immune to it.
No.
You look historically. Roger Ward missed in 1965. He was bumped. Bobby Rahal in 1993. He was bumped from the field. Both Roger Penske's cars, Al Unser Jr. and Emerson Fittipaldi. In Unser's case, the two defending winners of the race in 93 and 94 were bumped in 1995. Graham, just a couple years ago, James Hinchcliffe has been bumped from the field.
Fernando Alonso bumped from the field in 2019 as well.
By Kyle Kaiser, of all people.
Yeah, and what a story that was. Yeah, far out.
That's just Indy for you. That's Indy. I just have no other words to say about that, because this is Indianapolis.
What a qualifying session. And we'll go to the grid later.
It's a win just to get into the Indy 500. It's
absolutely.
But it's not quite official.
No, it's not. I want to give a couple of honorable mentions. I mean, while there have been some high-profile bumps in the past, there've also been some success stories that have come out of Bump Day before. The two names that spring to mind are, of course, Kyle Kaiser, who we mentioned already, and also Willie T. Ribbs, who famously qualified for the Indianapolis 500 as well. What a success story that was. Yeah, no, absolutely. So as many heartbreaking stories emerge from Bump Day, we also get these success stories as well, and that's another reason it's so special.
Ted Prappis as well in 1992 in the PIG car, bumped out. I believe it was actually Scott Goodyear's original entry in 1992. He put the thing in the show. Ted Prappis did, and also in '95. Do you know who bumped out without looking it up? Do you know who bumped out the Penske cars from the Indy 500?
No.
It was Stefan Johansson.
Oh wow!
In a customer entry.
I did not know that.
He was in the customer Penske chassis.
Oh my goodness me!
He drove for the Bettenhausen team, and actually, they used a customer Penske chassis and they made the Indy 500, while Rogers 2 missed.
Well,
And
it's
that
funny.
was-
It's funny that you should mention Penske, actually.
Well-
what else do we have to talk about? As if the last episode wasn't controversy filled enough. Here we go again. Do you want to start us off with this one?
Well,
He's making himself comfortable for this one as well.
I do be making myself comfortable, yes. Well, okay. Moments before the cars rolled off for Fast 12, a bombshell was uncovered. It was discovered that two of the Penske's three-car team of Joseph Newgarden and Will Power had been wheeled back to the garage, having failed post-qualifying inspection. The infraction was a violation of Rule 14.7.8.16. With the attenuator at the rear of the car was found to have been modified to include a seam filler to make the seam between the chassis and the attenuator more flush. Which, by the way, for those that don't know, the attenuator is actually a spec part from Dallara that you are under no circumstances allowed to modify. That's a no-no. While they were initially disqualified from the Fast 12 session, keeping their positions in row 4, 11th and 12th, they were then moved to the rear of the grid, Newgarden starting 32nd, and Power 33rd. Additional penalties were a $100,000 fine for both entries, loss of qualifying points, and the suspension of Tim Cindric, who was Newgarden's strategist, and Ron Brzezinski, the strategist for Will Power. This all kicked off because there was actually an interesting thing that a couple of journalists pointed out, that the car that was run a year before, in 2024, had the exact same blended attenuator, which brought into question whether or not the win should be taken away from Joseph Newgarden. Although Doug Bowles has actually said flat out, that's not going to happen.
No, because it'd be too
Newgarden
late
gets-
to change the official results now. It's been too long.
Yeah. On the flip side, Scott McLaughlin's chassis was also inspected for the same infraction, but was found to be perfectly legal, which is good. Like he's the one that basically he had the legal car, and mind you, Scotty had a bit of a crash on Sunday morning and didn't participate, like in the Fast 12 session. And let me tell you, that thing was. You don't like to see Indy cars catch air, but this is now, I think, the third or fourth car that has caught air this year at the Speedway.
Yeah, I do find it very strange that that Power and Newgarden's car had the modification done to it, but McLaughlin's car didn't. I should mention for everybody that at home who might not know what this modification would have done. So the attenuator spec part from Dallara, as Chris mentioned, that's a safety device. It's designed to absorb impact. But what the modifications that Penske would have done to that part would have resulted in is an increase, is like an aerodynamic advantage. So essentially, safety device that was modified to gain an advantage, and that is a big no-no. So that's why the penalty's been so severe. But you are right; they're not going to change the results, because not only would that have huge implications for the IndyCar Championship from last year too, it's also been far too long to change an official result a year after the fact. Although that does beg the question. Why was that not addressed last year? Did nobody look over the car? I find that very, very surprising to see that something like that slipped through the cracks. Or maybe they did know and didn't want to decide the race after the fact. I don't know. I mean, that's all speculation. And in the last couple of weeks, we've speculated a lot on this podcast and had to be very, very careful while doing so. But it is a very, very bizarre situation. And it's had a massive shake-up for that team.
I mean, in fairness, it does bring in to question the legality of pretty much most, or the legitimacy of both of Newgarden's wins, because this is the second straight scandal that has hit the 2 team, with the infamous push to pass scandal from last year at St. Pete. The 2023 race, which I still to this day, in my opinion, call fix on, because I don't think Joseph Newgarden actually won the race legitimately. But
no, what we're referring to with 2023 as well is the fact that correct me if I'm wrong, or if I get any details of this wrong. So, final crash of the race. The race probably should have ended under caution, as it has done in the past. It did so in 2020, I believe, when Takuma Sato won. It
did in basically every Indy 500 until 2023.
Yeah. So Indy 500 2023, there's a crash, results in a caution. Instead of the race finishing under caution, it's red flagged and then green flagged with only a single lap of racing to go, which a lot of people weren't very happy about, because, was that a breach of procedure? Was there anything in the rules that said you weren't allowed to do that? I'm not sure.
It wasn't so much that. It was more the optics of it were basically... The optics of it were not great. Yeah, shall we say, because people were calling fix, and myself included, saying that under any other year, the other 105 races that they had run at the Speedway, the race would have ended once the yellow was thrown for that last lap. The race ends.
I should also mention, if there's any Formula One fans listening in who may not be familiar with the long history of IndyCar, IndyCar fans probably feel the same way about the 2023 Indy 500 that they do about Abu Dhabi 2021, but that's a whole different kettle of fish.
You've done it. Now you've done it. You've mentioned that Grand Prix. You do realize that you've basically just given them an opening, right?
It'll drive up engagement in the comments.
You are absolutely right. The reason that both of these incidents happen is because I think sometimes the race directors feel an obligation to make the race exciting, which is not their job. They are there to make it fun.
Make it safe and fair.
The race was exciting enough that year.
Yeah, exactly. And, like I said, that's not their job at all. A very similar thing happened at the Australian Grand Prix in 2023 that I was not very happy with. But that is not really something I expected to be talking about today, because obviously that is not the scandal that's happened. But you're right, Jack. There are a lot of questions that have come out of this Penske scandal. The biggest one, of course, is the relationship between Penske and IndyCar in general. That's always been in question. But also just the little things that don't quite add up, like why was McLaughlin's car legal if the other two weren't, and why was it that it wasn't caught last year if indeed they had the same illegal attenuator on the car last year? Why have they done this in the first place? There's nothing that makes me cringe more than the sentence "illegally modified safety device." That thing screams red flags. So yeah, it's all a big mess. And you know who I feel actually really sorry for out of all of this? Jacob Abel. Because let's face it, he was knocked out of qualifying by two illegal cars. If those two illegal cars had been disqualified from qualifying as a whole, then I'm not sure quite how IndyCar would have dealt with it. Maybe they'd have only been able to start 32 cars in the race rather than 33. But the way I see it, that's the fairest way of doing it. Because at the end of the day, yes, the Penske cars were faster than Abel, but he had a legal car and they didn't. Let him in.
Or they would have probably added a 34th entry. They've done it before. The last time they did it actually was in 1997 because there were a couple of drivers, Lynn St. James and Johnny Unser, were bumped from the field by cars that were guaranteed in the show, like the infamous 25-8 rule that was put in place for the formative years of the Indy Racing League. The problem is, and Jacob Abel himself actually said it best on Monday during the practice show. He doesn't want to be in that way. He doesn't want to get in on a technicality. He wanted to qualify his way in, and unfortunately, he didn't get to do that.
But he was cheated out of it.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, he was cheated out of it. That's the
Yeah, I get that. But the problem is, Jacob Abel, credit to him, he said that yes, he wants to be in, and he thanks everyone for supporting him in this, but he doesn't want to get in on a technicality. And I respect that.
Yeah.
And I think that kid's got a bright future. He'll make an Indy 500.
Yeah, no, he will.
He will race in an Indianapolis 500. Like, the kid's good. But unfortunately, this just wasn't his year.
Well, I'll tell you what. If IndyCar did want to add a 34th entry to sort this situation out, I've got nothing on this weekend, so and I've not got racing. So no, but I think in fairness, it's very likely that those cars were illegal for the other qualifying sessions as well, and they've been moved to the rear of field. Where
if I'm to do my historic spiel for a bit.
Yeah.
Nobody in the 108 previous runnings of the Indianapolis 500 has ever won from lower than 28th.
Wow.
The last time the lowest someone has ever won the race from was 28th twice. Yeah. In 1911 with Ray Haroon and Louis Meyer in 1936.
Yeah. But I think, honestly, fairest way to handle this is those cars essentially end up in what would have been last chance qualifying. Abel gets in, and then only one of those cars is allowed to get in. I'm not sure how they would decide which one, but, tough. You broke the rules. You've got to face the consequences.
Problem
and
is
that's
that
what
the
should have
Penskes
happened.
were fast. The Penskes
were
actually
they
fast.
were illegal
on their own.
Again, that doesn't matter. A car can be fast, but it can also be illegal. And also, unfortunately, illegal trumps it.
It's also worth noting that you can actually get to the front from 33rd. I've got two historic examples as well for this. Tom Sneva, in 1980, started dead last, 33rd, and wound up second. And then 1992. Who started 33rd and who finished second?
Remind us.
It was a Canadian in the Mackenzie Insurance Special.
Jacques Villeneuve?
No, that was not quite.
Paul Tracy?
No, not him.
I'm going to guess all the Canadians I know. Justin Trudeau?
No, the former Prime Minister of Canada never actually made the Indianapolis 500, I'm afraid.
Oh, what a loser.
As try as he might.
It was actually Scott Goodyear in 1992.
Okay. Goodyear.
He started last in a car that was qualified by Mike Groff after he was bumped by Ted Prappis in 1992.
Yeah, wow.
He started 33rd in that Derek Walker entry got it all the way to second, and nearly won the thing in 92 in the closest finish in Indy 500 history. So you can get to the front. It's just getting past that lead car is a bit tricky.
Catching's one thing, passing's another.
Here, here.
Should we go through the grid? I think
Yes.
we probably have something to say about every single one of these drivers. So we've talked at length about Robert Shwartzman already. He starts on pole in number 83. In second, it was a good effort from two-time Indianapolis 500 winner Takuma Sato in car number 75. I should mention he is, I believe, one of only two drivers who will be able to move up from 2 to 3 wins for this year.
Yep. And also, he's made the top 6 twice. Yep. He's made the top 6 twice.
So
where did he finish in those 2 top 6 places? In those 2 top 6 appearances?
P1.
Yes, indeed.
So he, along with Joseph Newgarden, will have the opportunity to become to join the list of 3-time winners. There's another interesting stat that I'll get to later down the qualifying, but Takuma Sato, he's won. Here's another thing that sort of speaks to the kind of not randomness, but generally speaking, the Indianapolis 500 rarely follows any of the patterns followed in the regular IndyCar series. So Takuma Sato has won 6 IndyCar races, and 2 of them were the Indianapolis 500. Yep. And I believe there was actually a time where he'd probably only won maybe 1 or 2 races, and the vast majority of his wins, or a huge portion of his wins in IndyCar, were actually the Indianapolis 500.
Correct. He won, actually, so the 2 races he won before, I believe he won at Sao Paulo and he won at Long Beach. Then I believe he won in Brazil. Then he won the 500. Then he moved to Rahal and won at Barber, the 500, and Portland.
So you're right on Long Beach. So his first ever race was the 2010 Sao Paulo Indy 300. He didn't, of course, win that. His first win in IndyCar would be the 2013 Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. Mm-hmm. And I don't believe he won it. Yeah, and I don't really think he would not win again until that 2017 Indianapolis 500.
Actually, you're right, yeah.
And he's also scored both of Japan's wins as drivers at the Indianapolis 500. So Takuma Sato starting in second position, historically quite a good position to start from at the Indianapolis 500 as well. So the middle second place. Am I correct? Oh no, yes it is. Yeah. The middle is second place. In third place, it's the bridesmaid, Pato O'Ward. He has come so close on a number of occasions at the Indianapolis 500, but has come up short on a number of occasions. So in 2022, he was right there at the end of the race, couldn't get it done then. 2023 didn't finish, and 2024, he was passed on the final lap by Joseph Newgarden, who went on to claim his second Indianapolis 500. So, Pato O'Ward. Yeah, well, yeah, no, it's all speculation, I'm afraid, but there you go, and we've spoken about that at length already. Pato O'Ward, highest placed of the McLarens, in third place.
Row 2 is the 2008 winner, Scott Dixon, who surprisingly has only won once.
I was going to say, yeah.
Believe it or not, he's won everything there is to win in IndyCar. Problem is, he always seems to find a new creative way to lose the race at the speedway, and unfortunately, he just has that hard Scrabble luck.
I think his most creative way of losing the Indianapolis 500 was in 2017 when he launched Dalara's first ever light aircraft.
That was pretty impressive.
Yeah, that was kind of scary, but I will say one of the things I actually loved about that was not only that Scott Dixon was walked away from that, because let's face it, the way he hit was basically an inch too far, he would have been it would have hit the either the catch fence or the end of the safer barrier. Like, that's just... The safety of these race cars is just fantastic.
It's crazy. And I seem to remember him giving this great interview afterwards where he was so relaxed about the whole thing. And that's what really made me come to like Scott Dixon. He just got out of the car and he was
Scott
just...
Dixon.
I remember him just being, whatever. It's not like I haven't had the biggest crash that's ever happened in IndyCar for several years. But
Rule number 1 about IndyCar. You do not count out Scott Dixon.
No, of course not.
He's been fast all week. He can get it done. He might be able to get it done this year. I don't know though, but
you could say that about Scott. You could say that about Scott Dixon every year. That's just kind of who he is.
Finishing row two is Felix Rosenqvist in the Creed car. And the thing is, I just want to say this. I actually heard from someone that apparently during when the cars were not on track, they actually put a little, what is that little portable speaker thing?
Like a boom?
No. It's there's tons of them though. Like the circle one, number one. Oh, the cylinder one. I don't know. It'd be like a UE boom or something, surely. Yeah. I can't remember.
Meyershank Racing actually installed it in the Fuel Buckeye. And it was playing Creed, the entire discography of Creed.
That's hilarious.
In the garage area. I'm just saying, outside row 2, I'm just saying, this man was fast all week.
I mean, hang on. I do want to mention Felix Rosenqvist. He was very, very fast in top 12 qualifying. He was actually the fastest of anybody, and he had an absolute belter of a run in that particular session. Yeah. But let's move on to Alex Palou. The man who has won basically everything in IndyCar. This man has come in the last couple of years and absolutely... Well, let's be honest, wiped the floor with everybody else at every other race. But he's never won the Indianapolis 500.
He's never won a race on an oval either.
Has he not won a race on an oval? Nope. Well, I mean, in fairness, we don't have
his best
that many
finish, I think, was second, at Iowa.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
and also second here at the Speedway in 2022 or 2021 when Elio won.
Yeah, wow. Surely he's got to be in contention this year, has Alex Palou. He's won just about everything in IndyCar. He is happy. I mean, I know I said that the trends of the regular season don't usually carry over to the Indianapolis 500, but this man is having an absolutely stellar season so far. He's won all but a single race at Long Beach, which was at Long Beach this year, which from off the top of my head, Carl Kirkwood won that race. But
that was Kirkwood.
Kirkwood, yes, that's correct. But yeah, no, what a year he's having. And wouldn't it just, wouldn't this be the absolute cherry on top if he wins the championship this year and also walks away with the Indianapolis 500 as well?
And for those that are doubting him, he was, I've been watching all through the practice sessions this year. I'm just saying he was consistently the fastest car. I'm just saying you don't count him out. Like it may be we might be seeing Palou in victory lane.
Hello, Palou in victory lane.
But we'll get to our predictions after we do the grid. So
okay.
Row 3 is David Malukas. Great story to see him back in an Indy car. And back in the 500, driving for AJ Foyt. In the middle is Christian Lundgaard in the second McLaren, who's got some momentum actually going his way because of the podium at Barber. And the 28 car of the 2022 winner of the race, Marcus Ericsson, who I think he might be a sleeper to win the race because he's done well before, and Fingers crossed he does well now. In row number... Go ahead.
Well, hang on. I do think both Christian Lundgaard and Marcus Ericsson could be dark horses to win the race. So not only has Marcus Ericsson won it before, we've talked about that already. He of course won it with a different team, but Marcus Ericsson's won it before. Christian Lundgaard, he's a former IndyCar Rookie of the Year, if I remember correctly, and he's also having a pretty good year in the regular IndyCar Championship as well. He sits third in the championship at the moment.
Yep, got a podium at Barber.
He's got 3 podiums to his name this year.
He's on a bit of a tear at the minute.
Yeah. So no, he could do well. I'd have to look at his previous Indianapolis 500 results. I'd love to have a look at those. So I'm just going to go and have a look.
If you want to,
he's not really ever had brilliant results at the Indianapolis 500, but it's a new year. We could see what happens.
Row 4. We have the Thirsty Threes, the Yellow Submarine of Scott McLaughlin. We have Connor Daly, who just missed out on getting into the Fast 12 shootout, and was beating himself up over it. Quite undeserved, I might say. He did a run that he went from 21st to 13th on the grid. In that final minute of qualifying on Saturday, and this guy here, Connor Daly, he always runs well here at the Speedway, and I don't think he's had the finish to prove it, but those Juncos cars have been very, very quick this year. And also, row 4, the outside is Alexander Rossi, who, if we go back a little bit, has won the Indianapolis 500. He won in 2016. Basically coasting to the line on fumes.
Yep, on his first attempt. Great job.
Yeah. And people were saying at that time that he was waiting for a Formula One effort to come his way, but I was like, I hope we don't lose him. But then he wins the Indianapolis 500. A light went off and a light went on, and he stayed, and he's been here ever since. He loves it at the Speedway, and I think don't count out the Ed Carpenter cars either. That car is
The Ed Carpenter cars have historically been quite fast at the Indianapolis 500, are they not? What I will say about Alexander Rossi, I seem to remember on his podcast, he's actually gone on the record saying unless a big team from the world of Formula One came a knocking, he wouldn't leave IndyCar. But a lot of people say that Rossi's Indy 500 win wasn't legit because it was done on fuel saving. But the thing is, it takes a special kind of driver to make a strategy like that work. And on the day, Alexander Rossi was the man that made it work, and he got that race fair and square, and it's a huge achievement to win the Indianapolis 500 as a rookie. So fair play to him. Watch out for him during the race.
Yeah, it's about as fair as it comes. You cross the line first, you win the race.
Pretty much.
Doesn't really matter if you were the fastest or not. I guess it does matter how. You could cheat your way there. I wonder why I've brought that up all of a sudden. But it doesn't matter whether you are actually the fastest or not, so long as you get to the flag before anyone else, and that's what Alex Rossi did.
Strategy won him that race, and strategy won him the race, and I think if strategy is anything to go by, I think we could see Rossi back in victory lane. Now,
see, it's crazy to my F1 loving brain to be talking about someone starting from P12 and be like, yeah, they have a shot. But that's Indy. It's one of the reasons I love the race so much. The fact that you could look at the top 20 cars and go, yeah, they've got a shot. Who knows?
Now, row number 5 is Kiffin Simpson, who had a massive crash on Friday. One of 3 that actually caught air. This time coming off of turn number 4 in a car that he has some confidence in now. Perennial home favorite. Ed Carpenter in the middle, and Santino Ferrucci in row number 5. Now, I will say this for Ferrucci. And I realize that this might be a hot take, but he always runs well here. He's always run well here. He always seems to find a way to get to the front at Indianapolis, especially in a Foyt car. Like, he's definitely got something about this place. It's just, and he was third in 2023, so we could see Foyt getting a top 10 finish out of this. Just going through the rest of the grid here, Devlin DiFrancesco in the Doge car. In the Doge car, starts in row number 6 with Stingray Robb in the dog car. Yes, because, well, he's got the Pets sponsorship on the 77, the Juncos car.
I don't think I've seen that livery. I want to have a look at that.
I think it's the not Good Smile. He's got an animal shelter sponsorship on the car. Or animal shelter or service dog training or service animal training program on his car for that team. And also Christian Rasmussen, who admittedly has had a couple of incidents this year at the Speedway. He seems to love the High Line a little bit too much, and I don't know where he's going to finish, but that's if he gets a top 15 finish, I think that would be good for him, I think. Row 7, the biggest story of all here at the Speedway so far, Kyle Larson, who is doing the double, the 500 and the 600. Now, interesting about that is the best finish collectively for a driver doing the double is Tony Stewart in 2001, who finished 6th in the 500 and 3rd in the Coke 600 at Charlotte.
I do understand as well, though, the prospect of Kyle Larson doing both races is looking a little bit sketchy at the moment.
It was, but then, unless that's changed in the last few minutes, there was...
I'm seeing a few stories from like 13 hours ago saying that that it might be in a little bit of jeopardy. Apparently, Tony Kanaan is his backup driver because he has to prioritize the Coke 600.
Also, looking further back at I'm going to just do some selected entries here. Row 8, Elio Castroneves, the 4-time winner.
Well, hang on. There's an interesting stat about Elio Castroneves as well. He has the opportunity to become the single most successful driver ever at the Indianapolis 500 if he wins this year. That would be his 5th win at the Speedway if he's able to do that. And one more quick thing on Kyle Larson. Looking through the grid, I believe he is the lowest placed of any of the McLaren affiliated cars. McLaren also. Oh, who's lower?
Nolan Siegel. Who starts in row 8.
No, you're right. Yeah, you're right. So, so Siegel would be going for all of those McLaren cars. I will not take this
Siegel erasure. I will not take this Nolan Siegel erasure from you.
No, but yeah, so all of those McLarens, they'll be chasing. Here's another interesting stat. I've been looking at stats. That would be McLaren's first win at the Indianapolis 500 since 1976.
Mm-hmm.
We do love a good stat around here.
There we go. I love a stat. Absolutely love a stat. And there's 2 good ones for you. I don't think anyone else has the opportunity to become the single most successful driver ever. But
what if AJ Foyt launches a surprise late entry?
That'd be interesting. Or maybe one.
That would be surprising considering he's 88 years old.
Yeah.
Mind you, AJ Foyt has done. He's done his fair share of death threatening in his career, so not life threatening, death threatening. That was a Foytism from years ago. He said because he's had like so many life threatening accidents and everything, like be it in race cars and also when he was almost eaten by killer bees.
Really?
In his bulldozer. Bulldozer. Not bulldozer. Bulldozer.
I love a Foytism. Oh, fantastic.
That's pretty sure.
So it's Kyle Larson, Louis Foster, who's a rookie as well, Callum Ilott, Elio Castroneves, who we talked about, Kyle Kirkwood,
Long
and
Beach winner.
Long Beach winner, or Kirkwood, as the papers like to call him. Nolan Siegel, who will not be erased. Lowest place of the McLarens, as we discussed, but still in the race. Ryan Hunter-Reay, previous winner. He was 2014.
Yes,
he also has the opportunity to join the list of two-time winners.
Hollywood Jack Harvey alongside of him. The two Dreyer and Reinbold cars have been very quick, especially on Monday. They were actually at times second and third in the session on Monday in race runs. And also, don't count out Colton Herta.
Lucky to be in the race, but never count him out, that's for certain.
For sure.
On the second last row of the grid, Graham Rahal, who had an absolute heartbreaker at the Indy GP this year, was in contention for a very long time, but one, you were unlikely to ever beat Alex Palou. I think most people would struggle to beat Alex Palou, but as a sort of dodgy pit stop for him ruled him out of contention. That would have been his first win if he'd been able to get that one since, when was Graham Rahal's
Detroit a good
last
few years ago? Detroit 20, I'm going to say 19, maybe 18?
I thought it was
can't remember
Texas.
Was it? Because I remember he won both races in Detroit one year, and everyone's made a bit of a meme of like, oh yeah, remember that one time that Graham Rahal just became God and then disappeared again. But yeah.
I think you might be right, Caitlin.
It was 2017. My goodness.
Yeah.
I just looked it up. He won both races, Detroit 2017 at Belle Isle.
Yeah.
That was the first season I ever watched IndyCar. I remember those races, actually. Yeah, no. And I remember, who was it that who cropped up in that race? There was an ex-Formula One driver in that race as well. I mean, we obviously know Fernando Alonso was in the Indian 500 that year, but there was an ex-Formula One driver I seem to remember in the...
Esteban Gutierrez.
Esteban, yes, that was
Driving
it.
for
I remember
Dale
now.
Coyne, yeah.
Oh my gosh. What's he doing these days? You never hear from him anymore. But
I think he's a brand ambassador now. I'm not sure where he's a brand ambassador for, but yeah, I think he's a brand ambassador for someone.
yeah.
I think he's with Mercedes still.
Yeah, I believe so.
Also, remember what I said before about our little stat about lowest starting position to win the race?
Yeah.
Louis Meyer and Ray Haroon in 1911 started 28th. On the
28th.
grid.
And
Also-
that's where
That's where Graham Rahal is starting.
Graham Rahal. Okay.
yeah. What a result that would be for him. Starting alongside him, also bearing the name of drivers famous to IndyCar, is Marco Andretti, another driver who's quite lucky to be in the race, because him starting this year was also looking in doubt, and he's been bumped before, if I seem to remember correctly.
No, he hasn't.
Has he not been bumped before? Oh, I thought
This
he had.
is his 20th start.
Is it? Oh, I thought he had been bumped. Why did I think
He
that?
was
Anyway,
almost bumped in
He was almost
2011.
bumped.
He was almost bumped in 2011, but bumped his way back in.
right? Yeah. He. I wonder.
And remember, he finished second in his first start here at the Speedway. Unfortunately, I think he may have handed the race to Hornish on that one, because he slowed up a little too much
Yeah.
on the run to the flag. And
Now, if Marco Andretti were to win, he would break two long-running long-running trends, I should say, at the Indianapolis 500. So he would break the lowest starting position record, if I'm correct, Chris, based on what you've said. And he would also break the long-running Andretti curse, because Mario Andretti is still the last man to win the Indianapolis 500
he's
all the way
only
back.
Andretti to win
The
the
only
race.
Andretti. And he won in, I want to remind
1969.
myself,
Yeah.
1969. Yeah, wow. You have to
I
look
knew
a
that
long
from the
way
video I
back.
made about him years ago, but yeah.
I knew that
I
from
remember
memory.
that video. Yeah, we know that you know. That's why you're the guru. That's why we've got you around, Chris. Starting alongside him is Marcus Armstrong. Yep. And
who I think that the Meyershank guys deserve a huge amount of congratulations for just getting the car ready to qualify, because there was serious doubt that he would actually make the show in that car, because like he wrote the other chassis off, so they actually had to readapt a road course car, like the car he actually ran at the Indy GP and was also going to be running next week in Detroit. They basically had to turn that car into a speedway car, and well, we see the results. He made the show. He put it in the show.
He's in. Yeah, no, and Rinus VK, lucky to be starting the race too. He was in last chance qualifying.
I looked at that car. I watched that car compete or run in qualifying. That car, I'm afraid to say that car, according to Robin Miller, or according to the late Robin Miller, who used to call it this, that car was an absolute toilet.
I'm using that expression.
Rinus VK is not used to qualifying toilets into the field, but he sure did this time. But
I love that expression. That's amazing. Throughout some of the racing I've done, I've had some toilets. That's for sure.
Yeah, bad race car, but hey, he stuck. He put it in the show. That's the most important thing. Plus, I think he still gets the 31 cents from the last row party. Because so the last row party, I have to explain quickly.
Yes,
they do this party every year for the final three qualifiers. So Rinus VK, Joseph Newgarden, and Will Power.
Oh no! They all actually. Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah. They're now. Yeah. That's where they are. Yeah. Okay, but we've discussed that at length already. Please continue.
They have this little banquet for the last three starters, and each one of them is presented with a check of 31, 32, and 33 cents. To say, yes, you made the field in the last row of the grid. Now, I'm not sure if that's going to be retroactive for Newgarden and Power, because it could be Marco Andretti, Marcus Armstrong, and Rinus VK getting the cash prize. But it's a fun little shindig they put together, and it's actually a kind of hidden tradition at the Speedway.
I didn't know that. That's the first I've ever heard of that. That's very interesting, actually. I have to say.
Yeah.
So I learn something every time I do this podcast, but yeah.
Well, exactly. Yeah. So and of course, our lone DNQ is Port Jacob Abel, which I think he'll make an Indy 500. That kid's gonna make a 500 before too much longer. Like, remember, Pato O'Ward missed the show. Pato O'Ward missed the Indy 500 before in his first start, and what happened? That kid's a superstar, and I think Jacob Abel could be the same.
When was Pato O'Ward's first attempt?
2019. He failed to qualify.
That was that. I thought it might have been that year, but
it was actually a clean sweep of Carlin Racing bringing toilets to the 500. Yes.
Yeah, unfortunate. And you're great for the Indianapolis 500. I think we had something to say about most of those, so that's fantastic. Let's round this off with some predictions, because we're going to send Caitlin off to bed soon.
Yes.
Right. Who should we go through? I mean, obviously we'll pick a winner each, but should we also go through some other things that we think might happen?
I've got an idea.
Well? Go on.
Favorite, spoiler, sleeper, and rookie of the year.
Favorite spoiler. Define spoiler, just so I know.
Someone who can basically try and sneak up and try and play spoiler in this in the 500.
Okay, yeah, I like your thinking. Okay, right, okay.
Okay. The only thing is, what's the difference between a spoiler and a sleeper?
Oh, yeah, good point.
Or, sorry, a spoiler and a dark horse.
Dark horse. I guess that there's. It's also quite. Sorry, I hate to dump on the logistics of all of this, but we were just talking about toilets, so I guess taking a dump is adequate. But like when you say dark horse, that usually means someone who people don't really expect to win comes through and potentially wins. But
A
isn't that
sleeper,
the same?
basically, yeah.
Isn't that the same as a sleeper or a spoiler or whatever?
Oh no,
Like,
I think if I were to look at this, I would say a spoiler is somebody who is starting deep in the field who then makes their way through and ends up challenging. Whereas a dark horse might just be somebody you haven't really, you probably don't. It might be the fifth or sixth guy that you consider, but they're in the hunt. So a spoiler is probably going to be somebody from, I don't know, maybe row 7 downwards. Whereas a dark horse can kind of be anywhere, and then the winner is obviously the person who crosses the line first.
Yeah.
So don't think I need to explain that one.
And I think we'll start with Caitlin.
Okay, putting me on the spot. So I'll say the winner last actually, because I think it might be a little bit of a surprise. I think if I was gonna have to pick a spoiler or a sleeper or whatever, just somebody to look out for who you might not have considered. Probably keep your eye out for Ed Carpenter, coming from row 5 by the look of it. Because Ed Carpenter, I've been saying for years and years that, he's not going to get that many more attempts. And then he always keeps showing up and he always keeps doing well. And there have been times where he's been right at the front of the field and I've thought, is this his year? So I guess he's going to make me ask that question again. Is this his year? Probably not, but who knows? I'm still not entirely sure what your, metrics are for what constitutes a spoiler or a sleeper or whatever, but I'm also going to direct your attention towards Alex Rossi. We were talking about him earlier on. I think Alex, he's an Indy 5 winner, but I think he also has a point to prove because a lot of uneducated people, as you said earlier, don't consider his win to be particularly valuable, and that is just plain wrong. So I think he probably wants to win in a different way this time, just by being the fastest and making his way through to the front. And yeah, I can absolutely see him doing it. But my prediction for the win is Takuma Sato. I can see Taku doing it for the third time. I mean, he was unbelievably fast in qualifying. He is the highest ranked or highest placed race winner on the grid. And yeah, I can see him doing it again for sure. I think he's by far the most experienced person on the front row of the grid. Yeah, I'm going for Taku.
Okay. Chris, do you want to go? Or do you want me to go?
You do it. You do it next.
Okay, all right. So I'm going to start with my spoiler, and I think my spoiler, and part, I think this is partially because I want to see history made. I want to see Helio Castroneves make his way through the field and become the most successful driver ever to win the Indianapolis 500. He knows how to win here. It's deep in the field, but nothing's impossible at this race, and he's certainly been quick here. And wouldn't that just be a story? The elder statesman, so to speak, he's been around for ages, but my goodness me, to become a 5-time winner, that would surely be something. My dark horse. Actually, I'll start with. I'll do something interesting and say I'll go for my winner next rather than my dark horse. Ooh. I think he's been the bridesmaid, but I think this time he's got to be the bride. Pato O'Ward in the number 5 McLaren. Yep. I think he's got to break the curse. He's been there every single year. Unfortunately, he crashed out in 23. I seem to remember it was. But in 22, it was there. In 24, he was there. And I think he deserves this one. He's faced heartbreak so many times.
In 23, he was also there.
He was there.
23, he was almost there. He actually, like that. The last couple of a couple cautions before was caused because he tried a move on Marcus Ericsson, trying for the win, and, well, we know what happened going into turn 3.
We do, but yeah, no. I think the bouquet's been flung in the air, and this time I think Pato O'Ward's going to catch it. I think he's going to win. Now, the reason I've gone for the winner first is because my dark horse is also one of the McLaren drivers, and I think the number 7 car of Christian Lundgaard might be a little bit slept on. Wouldn't that be impressive if all eyes? I mean, when it comes to the McLaren stable, the eyes are usually on somebody like Pato O'Ward, but Christian Lundgaard may come through as well, and perhaps either one of those two drivers gets McLaren's first win since 1976.
I'm going to jump in quickly and say I was also very much considering bringing up Christian Lundgaard, and Pato O'Ward for that matter. I've done my usual thing of making a top 5 predictions list on Blue Sky, and Lundgaard on my list is second with O'Ward third. I will say, of course, making a top 5 for the Indy 500 is just gambling. That's literally all it is. But you're absolutely right to bring up O'Ward and Lundgaard, and I would have brought up the same too.
Yeah. That is what that means if a bouquet's been thrown in the air at a wedding. If whoever catches it, is that the next person who gets married?
Supposedly,
right, okay.
Yeah.
Right, so Newgarden's had the bouquet for too long. It's now somebody else's go with
it's
the bouquet.
It's now gotten all rotten and...
Oh, no, I didn't even want to go down this path. But right. Let's move on. Chris, what are your predictions?
So, I've got a couple. The dark horse... let's start with the kind of spoiler. I'm going to actually say something really bold. I think it's going to be probably Felix Rosenqvist. He's been very quick during every session he's been in. He's been near the front.
Is this your spoiler or dark horse?
Spoiler. Because...
This is spoiler. All right, okay.
Because I've got another one for the dark horse.
Right, okay.
But he's been very much near the front of the grid. He's been near the pointy end of the grid for pretty much all of the month of May. So he could play spoiler on this.
Does that make him more of a dark horse than a spoiler? Because he might not be the guy you can.
Because I've got another one.
Okay, all right, yeah.
Also, I wanted to work in something else, but basically, it wouldn't surprise me to see Felix Rosenqvist drink the milk with arms wide open.
Oh, good. Creed reference. I get it.
Well, I just heard the news today. It seems his life might change on Sunday. My dark horse is the gentleman sitting on the middle of the front row. I say this because the last time, statistically, the certain gentleman has started on in the top 6, which was twice. He's won it. I am talking, of course, of Takuma Sato driving for Rahal Letterman Lanigan. This could be the dark horse to win this race. It's an Indy-only entry, but he could possibly get number 3 this weekend.
Wow, we're both on the Takuma Sato hype train.
Yeah. Except hang on, was Takuma Sato your winner, Caitlin, or was he your dark horse?
Yeah, Taku was my prediction for the win.
He's the winner, so we've had Taku as a winner and a dark horse. Okay, right. Who's your winner then, Chris?
My winner, it's down to 2.
Okay.
And they're surrounding Felix Rosenqvist. A gentleman from New Zealand, the old veteran who's won the veteran who has won at the Speedway, and the young man who has never won on an oval. Both have been very quick this month. So I'm going to tie this. And
you did that with the Daytona predictions as well. Yeah.
You get 2.
I'm just saying.
They can't both win.
Well, if one can...
Okay, right. Between the two, who is it?
I think the favorite has to be Alex Palou. I think the favorite has to be Palou because, remember, he has topped the timesheets in all but one session this entire month. He has topped the timesheets in all but one session, and that was qualifying. And that was the Fast 6 qualifying session. I think that Alex Palou is going to win the Indianapolis 500. And
right.
I will say, of the 2 rookies that are in the field, or actually 3, because
Oh, should we do a Rookie of the Year prediction?
yeah, because there's 3 of them. They would be Robert Shwartzman, Louis Foster, and Nolan Siegel. I pretty much think it's a lock for Robert Shwartzman because, well,
Yeah.
who else
I'd
would
say
it be?
Schwartzman too. I would say Schwartzman too.
I know it's a boring answer, but I'm going to say Schwartzman too. I had him 5th on my list, so we have managed to snag on 4 of my top 5. My 4th place finisher was actually Connor Daly, if anyone was wondering.
Ooh.
So
That's a good
my
pick.
complete gamble of a top 5 was going to be Sato, Lundgaard, O'Ward, Daly, Schwartzman.
If I had another spoiler to pick, I'd maybe have gone for Connor Daly. So maybe he's my honourable spoiler. Okay, I think
if Schwartzman can come out of Indianapolis with a top 10,
yeah,
that'll be a great result for him.
Oh
if
yeah,
he can
absolutely.
complete all the laps and finish in the top 10, that'll be a great result.
Yeah. And I think that just about caps us off for the preview of the 109th Indianapolis 500. My name is Jack McKenzie, and joining me on the mic, as usual, has been the wonderful Chris Whitfield and Caitlin Penny commentary, and you have been listening to the Motorsport Recently Show. Enjoy the Indianapolis 500 race this weekend, and we'll see you all in the next episode. Leave your likes, comments, subscriptions, and reviews on both Spotify and YouTube. We could absolutely use them, and if you feel like it, please leave us some predictions in the comments down below as well. Anyway, that's all from us. We'll see you next time. Goodbye, everybody.
Yeehaw!
Back home again in Indiana.